Welcome to ALEC TV. My name is Ronnie Lampard. I'm the Director of the Civil and Criminal Justice Task Forces, and today I'm joined by Chairman Brandt Iden. He chairs the Ways and Means Committee in the Michigan State House. And today we're going to be talking about sports betting, so thank you for joining me.
Yeah, you bet. Great to be here. Always excited to talk about a topic I really enjoy.
Well, speaking of that topic you really enjoy, you have been the champion, if you will, of sports betting in the state of Michigan. Why sports betting, and why are you so passionate about this issue?
Sure. Well, from a couple standpoints. You know, I've been working on this issue for 4 years now, and you mentioned that it's been a labor of love. Unfortunately, at the end of last session, I did receive a veto on the bills from the former governor, a Republican. We now have a new governor in the state, a Democrat now, and, you know, divided government, and we've been working very closely over the course of the past year to try to pass this package of bills again. Gaming reform updates that deal from everything from online sports betting to internet games to horse racing issues. And for me, this started with consumer protection issues. You know, as I went around, I noticed you at any college campus, I have a couple in my district, and talked to a student, and many of them play poker online, they sports bet online, and they don't realize that they're doing it illegally. And in fact, as I started to dig into it more and more, what I realized is that we had situations where people were being taken advantage of on the internet. People who play and game a lot would place a bet, and sometimes, you know, some offshore sports book, and they'd get, you know, they couldn't cash out if they won, or they'd get a check from a Chinese bank. Where are you going to cash that at? And so what I started to really dig into is I said, you know what, we need to add further protections for people. And then, of course, as time went on, the Supreme Court ruled that states could get into the sports betting world with a repeal of PASPA. And it really went from there. And then, of course, now we get into these debates of not only consumer protection, but tax issues and all these things. And so it's really becoming a fascinating and very quickly developing industry.
So we've seen 16 states legalize and have full-on implementation of sports betting, and another 13 that have legalized, but they're in the process of implementation. And some of these states are, you know, D.C., for example, while not a state, has legalized sports betting, and D.C. is obviously very blue, and then you look at a state like Mississippi, which is obviously very red. They've both legalized sports betting. And have you seen this as a bipartisan issue in your state?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the package of bills that we have are both Republicans and Democrats. This is not an issue that I think falls along party lines, and we've seen that in other states. Both Republican and Democrat governors have signed these bills. Again, it comes back to consumer protection issues, and then, of course, you've got other states which are just simply saying, okay, consumer protections are important, but we're looking at the revenue side of things. Look at the dollars that these can bring in. And it's been interesting to see, one of the examples that I've used is Colorado recently passed this through voter referendum. A little bit different than how some of the states have to do it, but because of the way they're set up, Colorado passed this through voter referendum. They're directing all those dollars towards water initiatives in the state. So what this really comes down to is being able to build a bipartisan bridge across the aisle with your colleagues and say, is this an issue that's good for our state? Does it protect our citizens? Most of the time the answer to both those is yes, because everybody knows it's currently occurring. This is currently happening. And so it's an added revenue source for people as well. And so the debate where you sort of get into where it gets a little bit more persnickety with the partisan is when it comes down to what that tax rate is. Obviously, Republicans want that tax rate a little bit lower. Oftentimes, my more liberal colleagues want that tax rate a little bit higher, and you have to work through that. But this really is a bipartisan issue that brings, I think, both sides together, and we've seen that across the country.
So my home state of Louisiana has not yet legalized sports betting, but the state of Mississippi, as I previously mentioned, has. So, and I've seen a lot of my friends decide that, well, I can't bet on sports in Louisiana or New Orleans, so I'm going to drive across state lines and spend the weekend on the Gulf Coast in Mississippi. So in your state, you have not yet legalized sports betting, and Indiana has. Are you seeing the same effect as well?
You bet, you bet. So Illinois has, Indiana has, Ohio is quickly behind us, and we think that they may do it at the first of next year. So we're trying to beat them to the punch. But you're seeing just that. People, especially that live across the southern border, where I live about 38 minutes or so from the border of Indiana in Kalamazoo. I can simply drive right down, go 40 minutes down the highway, and really once I'm inside the state lines, I can get on my phone, I can place a bet, and folks are doing that. That's what's happening We see that in New York when people cross over into New Jersey. And so what happens is you're pulling revenue out of your state and taking it into these other states. In fact, I get people on social media all the time that'll tell me about a story. Well, I went down to Indiana to visit the in-laws this weekend, and by the way, while I was there, I placed bets on all these games and did this. And by the way, this isn't necessarily a lot of money. This may be $20, $40 bets, but it really adds up, and we've seen that. I mean, Indiana last week reported that their mark for revenue was 30% higher than what they anticipated. So what you're seeing is dollars coming in massive amounts, and it is a lot of those sometimes can be from over the state line.
So in some conversations I've had with some social conservatives, they express concern about the fact that the government now is essentially legalizing a vice and putting their stamp of approval on a vice. And I'm curious, as a legislator, what's your response to that? How does your bill address some of those concerns?
Well, there are a number of things there. First and foremost, like I said, we have to recognize that this is currently going on. And if we want to protect people, and if we want to put those consumer protections forward to make sure that people are of proper age, that we address people with gambling addiction issues, technology that we have today can help that. People who place a $10 bet, $10 bet, $10 bet online, then all of a sudden place a $1,000 bet, that's going to be red flagged. People are going to, the operators are going to know that there may be an issue here, so we can help people with those issues. And I've always advocated that by putting proper protections in place, we can help people that have addiction issues. Additionally, what we've done is, of course, in my bill, and many states have done this, we've directed more dollars towards problem gaming. That's very important as well, making sure that we fund those initiatives and make sure that we get those people the proper help. But in order to address that, we have to know that it's going on. And when there's a black market that exists and we can't address it, we don't know what problems these people have. That's why we have to bring this out into the light of day and really address the issues.
It's all very valid points. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you all today. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you have any other questions or comments, please visit us at www.alec.org. Thank you.